Hey, welcome back to graphic design. I am so excited to see these portraits as they're coming in. I've already seen quite a few, and so those are going to be so cool. Now, I will warn you, I have quite a few projects from all of my different classes coming in all at the same time. So give me a little bit of time to get these graded, but I will be working on these. And so hopefully I can get those grades back to you soon. In the meantime, here is your schedule for week 13. We are diving into one of your last big projects, and that is using Adobe Illustrator, but more specifically for this week, it's introducing you to this concept of branding. What is branding? So now we're really looking at commercial graphic design. So here is your job for this week. First things first, on Wednesday, today, you should read the Branding Basics article. It's pretty short, but it does do a really good job of explaining what branding is and like all those different levels of that. Then I want you to watch this What is Branding video, also really short, but extremely helpful about the process of how branding came to be what it is and why it's so incredibly important today. Finally, there is this incredible website where a local, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up, a local graphic designer has actually created all of these works for Kansas City. And so these are all local places in Kansas City. And so I want you to be familiar with their work. And you can just come on in, spin pizza. You probably recognize some of these places. Sonic, I'm sure most of us recognize Sonic. I'm gonna click on that one. And you can see like all the different packaging and things created by local graphic designers. So really incredible work, and you can get familiar with brands like in its entirety on here and how they are creating these different graphics and things that can then be incorporated all over on the cups, on the billboards, on the menu, on the bag, to make it pop and really help sell whatever that product is. After you've done those things, you should have a really good idea of what branding is. And so for weekly discussion number 13, I want you to give your definition of branding, what it entails. And then I want you to specifically speak to companies or product lines that stood out from this website as really interesting. If you want to branch beyond that, you can think about other products or companies that have brands that you're like, oh my gosh, every time I see that, I think of that, like I want to buy it, I'm interested, they do a really nice job. You can talk about things beyond that website, but I wanted to give you a website to start with that you could also just pull from if you didn't want to have to think about other brands. So make sure you explain yourself why you like that branding line and that company and how they're doing a good job. So then tomorrow, your first assignment is actually a pretty big one. And this is brand design planning sheet. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. So as you can see, for this project, you are going to be creating a logo and essentially creating like a branding plan for a company of your choice. But first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what that company is. I want you to be creative with this. You can think about companies that already exist, but I want you to create your own company. So first thing you need to do is choose a product category. And there's examples of these right below it, but I want you to think about what would you want to sell? Or maybe a better thing to think about is what do you like to buy? Okay, because you're probably going to want to sell things that you're interested in. And then imagine what that business might look like. And so decide there. Then who's your target market? And there's a really helpful article that you need to read through to help decide who your market is and why that's going to be potentially your market. Are you the target market? Is it a high schooler who's interested in XYZ that's going to be the main market? Or are you designing for somebody else? Are you designing for siblings? Are you designing for grandparents? Are you designing for friends? And so you can think through what you want to do for that. Then you need to think about what makes your product unique. And so this is like the main like cusp of your business model that keeps your business afloat by having some niche to it. So it's not just like everything else, okay? If I started making tennis shoes that just look like any other tennis shoes, and maybe I put different colors on them, I don't know, nobody's going to be interested. But if I take that a step further and I start doing maybe like incredible patterns on each of the shoes that are recognizable in very distinct colors, and I have a very distinct logo, and maybe I make it in recyclable, like the bottom of it is all recycled rubber, that'd be super cool. And that's something that I'm not familiar with out there. And so that could be what makes it unique. Once you decide what makes it unique, that should help you decide what is your brand name. Hopefully at this point you have a pretty good concept of what that brand might be. And so make a brand name. There's some suggestions on there. And then you also need a tagline. When you're done with that, I want you to research the competition. So if I'm trying to design tennis shoes, I'm going to look up Nike, I'm going to look up Adidas, I'm going to look up New Balance, I'm going to look up all of those main competitors, and I'm going to copy and paste different logos and packaging from each of those of what they're doing now. So I'm going to look up like recent, like I'm going to go to Nike website right now and see, okay, what are they marketing? What's in design right now, not so that I can copy it, but so that I can be aware of what's on trend, and then I can put my own spin on it and make myself, I'm sure I'm gonna make myself better than Nike, right? Of course, totally. So that is your brand design planning sheets. I give you a couple days for that because I think it takes a couple days, and there's a lot of thought that needs to go into that. So you really have to think through this cool idea of your brand. But then you get to have some fun with it. And on Monday and Tuesday, your job is to complete assignment number 2, which is my brand mood board. So for that, I've got a little video that talks about what is a mood board. Here are some examples of mood boards. And then here's what you need to include. So all those main things that you came up for your planning sheets, type those in or throw examples of those in there. And then you also can go to this website to create your own color scheme, create or choose some fonts, which we already talked about, typography, choose images of artwork, clothing, anything that looks like it would relate and fit with the style of your brand. We love those visuals. And then a couple patterns. Throw them all on this slide, and this will be your mood board. So here's examples of ones that are done. Okay. This is a really common thing that graphic designers will do for clients. And so right now you are essentially the client, but it's what you're going to do to make sure that you are on par with what the client wants and you can show your incredible designs before you actually go through the work of creating a logo and like the actual branding materials. Okay. It's essentially your research. So I give you a couple days to do that as well, because I know that that'll take a little bit of time too. Next week, we will dive more into using Adobe Illustrator. We will create our logo for whatever brand it is and apply it to some packaging. And that's the main part of this project. So should be pretty fun. I'm excited to see what you come up with. And of course, email me if you need anything at all. I will talk to you later.